Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. So as you can see, I'm on the beach. It's quite windy during this very nice sunset, and so we're getting a lot of waves, and that's the topic of today's episode, waves. I want to tell you just a short story. When I was in my young 20s, I started my online career. And I dropped out of university. I was almost about 4 years into it, and I was going to graduate with a degree in business and economics, and I never finished. I had about a year to go, but I never finished. I dropped out. And so I decided I was going to just focus everything on my online career. And in those first few years, it failed really bad. It didn't go so well at all. One of the reasons why it failed was my work ethic. I was putting in the time, but there was never any real urgency and intensity. So I would trade the hours, I would put in the hours, but I was just quite passive about the whole thing. I'd be watching courses, I'd be trying to take action, but it really wasn't going anywhere. And what made all the difference in the world is about 2.5 years into it, I got fed up. I got really just aggravated with never getting results and just feeling like a loser all the time, not making any progress. So what I started to do was I started to put myself in traps. And when I say traps, I mean I would publicly announce what I was going to do, and I would pick these big ambitious goals. I'd have a deadline in place, and I would tell everyone on my list. I would say, next week I'm going to be doing a series of webinars on this particular topic. And then I couldn't get out of it. And I would feel that stress come on, especially as the deadline got closer and closer. I would get anxious about just not being ready. And I could feel their expectation on me, and I didn't want to let them down. So I would work longer hours. If I had to work a 15-hour day, if I had to stay up till midnight working on my slides for that webinar the next day, I did it because now I was trapped. There was no way of getting out of it. So that period, it was like the peak of a wave. It was really intense. And at the end of it, I would be exhausted. So if I did a series of webinars for a week, I'd get to the end and I would feel great about having got this thing done, having got over this big hurdle. But for the next week, I would take it really easy. And that was like a low wave, okay? So what I'm trying to say to you is I started to work in these oscillating periods of extreme intensity, and then relaxing, recovering, and then extreme intensity, and then relaxing, recovering. And what I've found over the years that I've been doing this, and it's now been well over 10 years, this has been incredibly productive for me, and I think it can be really productive for you. If you're trying to work at the same intensity all throughout the day, all throughout the weeks and the months, it's just not going to work that well. It really won't. What you've got to do is you've got to have those periods where you are working really long days, where you are feeling physically, mentally exhausted, and you're giving it everything you've got. And you do that, but it's temporary. That's the intense wave coming. And then you rest, and then you recover. You get to recharge. And then there's another wave where it's just intense again. You go through it, you make all this amazing progress, and then you recover. And I remember one of the very first times I did this, I just announced that I was doing my very first live event, and it was going to be in San Diego. This was back in 2011 or 2012. And so I remember flying to San Diego from Australia and being extremely stressed because I had to put together 3 days worth of content. I had to do all the slides. I had 46 people coming to this live event, and I didn't want to let them down. And so for the weeks leading up to that, I was focusing everything I had on preparing all my content. When I got there, that was even more stressful because now that looming deadline was coming. All my guests would be arriving soon. And for those 3 days of delivering that content, it was the most stressful period of my life. But when I got on the plane, I returned back to Australia. I remember getting home, and for about 4 days, I didn't get out of bed. I remember binge watching Breaking Bad, and that was my reward. That was the low wave. That was where I got to recharge after these weeks of just really giving it everything I had. But I've been doing that now for over 10 years. And today, right now, I'm at the end of one of those big waves. Since Monday, I've been filming a whole bunch of different courses. We've filmed 4 courses over this week. So right now I'm physically exhausted, I'm mentally exhausted. So I'm gonna rest. That's gonna be a low wave. But this is how I work, and it's been very effective for me, and it can be very effective for you. So short, rapid periods where you give it everything you've got, where it's incredibly intense. You get to the very end of it, you're exhausted, you get to rest, you get to recover, you get to recharge, and then you go at it again. Because that's how things happen in nature. Things happen in waves. So I hope you found that useful. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.